Imagine living in this really bustling, you know, vibrant metropolis.
Right.
You've got your favorite coffee shops, your daily commute, just that familiar hum of the city all around you. But then right in the middle of all that life, there is this enormous fenced-off wasteland.
Just a total dead zone.
Exactly. And it's been sitting there, completely dead, for 40 years. I mean, generations of people have literally grown up, lived their entire lives, and moved away, all whilst walking past the same chain link fence.
Staring at a totally barren industrial void.
Yeah. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, that exact same wasteland is chosen to become the ultimate blueprint for the city of the future.
It's actually a complete inversion of how we normally think about urban spaces. I mean, we are looking at a masterclass in urban requalification today.
Oh, totally.
It's this massive generational transformation project that's currently unfolding right now in Montreal's East End.
And before we really get into the mechanics of, how a city actually pulls something like this off, I want to establish exactly where we're pulling our intelligence from for today's deep dive.
Right, our sources.
Yeah. So our primary roadmap is a really comprehensive document, and it's titled Future Transformation of the Former Esso Site.
It's a great read.
It really is. And this publication is provided by two specific platforms that you should absolutely know about. The first is Wikiresidence.ca, and just to be clear, that is pronounced Wikiresidence.ca.
Got it. Right.
And the second is Infodrone.ca, which is pronounced Infodrone.ca.
They're fantastic resources.
Really fantastic. And the material is actually available on those sites in both text and audio formats. So, if you want to explore the primary sources yourself later, you know exactly where to go.
And you really should, because it provides an incredibly detailed breakdown, not just of the finances, which are huge, but of the actual philosophy driving this kind of massive urban shift.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the future of this site, we really have to grasp the sheer, almost incomprehensible scale of what was left behind.
The scale is wild.
It is. Because when you hear the word wasteland, your brain probably defaults to like an empty lot at the end of a suburban street. Or, I don't know, maybe a single shuttered brick factory.
Right, something manageable.
Right. But we need to scale that up, way, way up. The former Esso refinery site we are talking about today is 7 million square feet.
Which is, that number is so large it almost loses its meaning without a point of reference.
Exactly. 7 million is just abstract math. So I want you to visualize this using the analogies provided in our sources. Picture an area large enough to hold 50 Costco stores.
50?
Yeah, just parked side by side, taking up the entire horizon. Or, if you prefer, think about 25 entire IKEA branches.
That is massive.
And for the sports fans out there, imagine 124 football fields laid out end to end. That is the physical footprint we are dealing with, just sitting there.
Yeah.
Empty.
And completely inactive since 1983.
1983.
Yeah, this is a massive petroleum refining and storage facility. So for over 4 decades, it has been effectively frozen in time. It's basically acting as a massive void in the middle of a major North American city.
Which makes zero intuitive sense to me. I mean, why in the world would a city let prime real estate sit totally paralyzed for over 40 years?
A long time.
A decade of bureaucratic red tape, maybe, I get that. But 4 decades. You look at the map, and it is not out in the middle of some remote rural area.
Not at all.
It is plugged right into the city's main arteries.
And that location is the central irony of this entire story, because on paper, this is a real estate developer's ultimate dream.
Oh, for sure.
It sits right in the heart of a highly strategic zone. Specifically, it's between Sherbrooke and Notre Dame streets in Montreal East, right near Gamble Avenue.
Okay.
And it is incredibly close to the Port of Montreal. It's flanked by major highways. It is tied directly into the railway infrastructure. And maybe most importantly, it's surrounded by dense population centers.
So it basically has every single logistical advantage a developer could possibly ask for.
It really does. But, beneath the surface, it is a massive industrial scar.
Right, the contamination.
Exactly. The petroleum refining and storage activities that took place there for all those decades didn't just leave empty buildings. They left behind a level of severe soil contamination.
Which changes everything.
Completely. That petroleum residue essentially turned this incredibly valuable land into a dormant trap. The sheer cost, the legal liability, and just the logistical nightmare of cleaning up 40 years of deep soil oil contamination made it simply too daunting.
Nobody wanted to touch it.
Right. For 40 years, the math just didn't work for anyone to step in.
Well, let's talk about that math. because the sources say it's going to cost $150 million to essentially treat dirt.
Yeah.
That is the estimated price tag for the decontamination process alone. And you have to wonder, at what point does the city just look at a spreadsheet and say, you know what, this isn't worth the taxpayer money?
It's a huge pill to swallow.
Because you can't exactly build a gleaming new green tech hub or apartments or a park on top of 40-year-old oil residue. But finding $150 million just to get the land back to zero, that seems like a massive barrier to entry.
It is the ultimate barrier. And the hurdle here isn't like a lack of vision from urban planners. It is a lack of patient capital.
Patient capital. Explain that.
Well, private developers, they want a return on their investment within a few years, right?
Sure.
They are absolutely not going to sink over $100 million into moving toxic dirt before they can even pour a single concrete foundation. It just doesn't make business sense for them.
So someone with very deep pockets has to step in to break the deadlock.
Precisely.
And according to the latest announcements from our sources, the government of Quebec is doing just that. They're committing this massive $122.9 million investment to help acquire and decontaminate the land.
Right.
So that basically covers the vast majority of that $150 million scrub down.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is crucial to understand the actual mechanism of this funding.
Okay.
Because this is not just a government handout or a sunk cost. This funding is being allocated to support an organization called the SMTM.
Which stands for?
Right. It stands for the Société de mise en valeur de terrain dans l'Est de Montreal. And this $123 million actually takes the form of an equity stake via Investissement Québec.
Wait, really? Meaning the government isn't just like paying a bill for the cleanup, they're essentially buying into the future profitability of this land.
Exactly. They are taking a highly calculated financial position here, and it adds to a much larger pool of strategic capital that's already in motion.
Right.
The CAQ government has actually already invested $200 million since 2019, specifically targeted at the rehabilitation of lands in Montreal's East End.
Wow, so this has been a long time coming. And the sources mentioned that prior funding went to some pretty major, highly visible civic projects, too.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about the Blue Line extension, repairs to the Olympic Stadium roof, and the major renovation of the Maisonneuve-Rosemont Hospital.
Which demonstrates this sustained, systemic effort to revitalize an entire quadrant of the city.
It's huge.
Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada and Anne St. Laurent actually pointed out that Montreal's East End has historically been one of Quebec's primary economic engines.
Okay.
But it has just suffered from severe neglect as industries shifted over the decades.
Right. But here's where it gets really interesting. And honestly, this is a point that might make you pause if you are a taxpayer.
Okay, let's hear.
The land previously belonged to the Imperial Oil Company, Esso.
Yes.
So let's trace the logic here. Esso owned the land. Esso ran the refineries for decades. Esso contaminated the soil with all that petroleum.
That's all correct.
So why isn't Esso paying the $150 million to clean up their own mess? I mean, why does the burden of rehabilitating a corporate industrial site fall onto the shoulders of the provincial government?
It is the most logical question to ask. And it really comes down to the complex mechanics of environmental law, and specifically a significant chronological loophole.
The loophole.
Yeah. Premier Christine Frechette addressed this directly during the announcement. She noted that Esso ceased its refining operations on that specific site way back in 1983.
I see. So the timeline is the key here.
The timeline is everything. That 1983 closure predates the modern stringent requirements of the Environment Quality Act.
Oh.
Modern environmental laws, as we know them today, generally operate on the principle that the polluter pays. So if a company today wants to shut down a chemical plant or a refinery, they are legally bound to remediate that environmental footprint before they can wash their hands of the property.
They have to clean the room before they give back the keys.
Exactly. But those specific legal mechanisms, the laws that actually have the teeth to force a corporation into a $100 million cleanup, they were simply not in effect, or at least didn't apply retroactively in the same way back when Esso shuttered this facility.
Wow.
Because those modern regulations weren't in force at the time of closure, the company was not legally obligated to rehabilitate the land prior to selling it.
That is just a really tough reality of dealing with these legacy industrial sites across North America. I mean, the laws we rely on today to protect our communities, they literally didn't exist when the damage was actually being done.
They didn't.
And because you can't always apply those laws backward in time, the city is left with a really stark choice.
Hmm.
Let the 124 football field void sit there dead for another 40 years, or step up and pay the toll to unlock the land.
And stepping up requires an incredible amount of patience, which kind of brings us to the logistical sequencing of a project this size, because it is genuinely mind-boggling when you look at the
I
timeline.
can imagine.
People hear about a new provincial investment in an innovation hub, and they expect to see, shiny glass buildings and tech workers appearing next year.
Yeah, right away.
But the reality of urban requalification is incredibly slow and very unglamorous. We'll break that timeline down for us, because the source material maps out a schedule that really tests the limits of political patience.
Okay, so the decontamination work alone, just the physical process of moving dirt, treating the petroleum residue, and making the ground safe for human habitation. That alone is going to be spread out over a period of 5 to 10 years, depending on the specific segments of the land.
A decade. A full decade of nothing but earth-moving equipment before a single foundation is poured.
And it doesn't stop there.
You're kidding.
No, because once the soil is finally clean, you still just have a 7 million square foot blank slate of dirt.
Yeah.
You cannot simply invite artificial intelligence companies to set up shop in a dirt field. The city has to construct the entire deep infrastructure from scratch.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about designing and digging massive new sewer systems, laying aqueducts for water management, paving an entirely new grid of streets,
Yeah.
and building a high-capacity electrical network that's actually capable of powering data-heavy, high-tech industries.
That's basically building a city underneath the city. Exactly. And the instigators of the project foresee 7 to 10 years just for the complete development of these lands.
So we are looking at a 10-year runway of basically laying pipes and moving dirt before the real vision comes to life, which really forces a major strategic decision.
It does.
If a city is going to spend $150 million and a decade of labor just to prepare the ground, they have to be incredibly particular about what actually gets built on top of it.
Right. The return on investment has to be massive.
Huge. And the strategy shifts drastically here. It's defined just as much by what the city is actively refusing to build as by what they are planning to build.
Yes.
The sources make a very pointed note that the city is explicitly rejecting the idea of building massive logistics warehouses.
Which is a big deal.
Right, because think about this from a traditional developer's perspective. You have a huge flat piece of land located directly next to a major international port, flanked by highways and rail lines. A logistics warehouse seems like the easiest, most profitable, most obvious choice.
The safest bet.
Yeah, but the city is drawing a hard line and saying no. Why turn down guaranteed industrial money?
Because logistics warehouses eat up absolute tons of physical space, but they create a disproportionately low number of actual jobs.
Go.
You do not revitalize an entire community by building a storage unit the size of 100 football fields that employs like 50 people to drive forklifts.
That makes a lot of sense.
It generates very little economic momentum for the surrounding neighborhoods.
It just creates a dead zone of concrete and trucks.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how this conscious rejection reflects a much deeper evolution in the philosophy of urban planning.
How so?
Well, it is a direct response to a massive systemic mistake made throughout the 20th century. For decades, the standard practice in urban development was strict, drastic zoning.
Right.
Planners completely separated industrial zones from residential areas. You put all the factories, warehouses, and jobs miles away in one sector, and you put all the houses and schools miles away in another.
It is like designing a house where your kitchen is a 2-mile drive from your dining room.
Yes.
It functionally ignores how human beings actually live their lives.
Yes.
You force everyone to spend hours of their day just commuting between the isolated zones of their own existence.
And by doing that, city planners accidentally engineered two massive urban problems.
Okay.
First, they created what we call dormitory communities. These are neighborhoods where people essentially only go to sleep, completely emptying out during the day.
Right.
Second, they created concrete deserts, which are massive, sprawling industrial parks, completely devoid of life, greenery, local businesses, or any community interaction.
So the true goal for this former Esso site is to completely shatter that 20th century model.
Absolutely.
The objective outlined by the government is not heavy reindustrialization. They are aggressively pursuing a transition from gray to green. The vision is to build a highly integrated mixed-use innovation hub.
And the specific sectors they're targeting are incredibly forward-looking.
What are they looking at?
The Coalition Avenir Quebec envisions a vibrant ecosystem focused on clean technologies, artificial intelligence, aeronautics, and photonics optics.
Wow.
They want to attract businesses operating at the cutting edge of the energy transition and defense sectors.
These aren't just buzzwords. These are industries that require highly skilled, highly paid workers.
Very much so.
And those workers demand high-quality living environments. It is about creating a dynamic space where the residents of adjacent neighborhoods like Pointe-aux-Trembles and Hochelaga-Maisonneuve can actually live, work, and seek entertainment without ever needing to get on a highway.
If you look at the daily projections, the sheer volume of human activity is staggering. This 7 million square foot innovation hub has the potential to attract a daily flow of 10,000 to 15,000 people.
That is massive. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I want you to imagine the microeconomy that springs up when 15,000 skilled workers, researchers, and local residents are walking around a centralized hub every single day.
Right, the ripple effect.
Yeah, you suddenly have the foot traffic to support local cafes, restaurants, independent retail, and collaborative mixed-use spaces. It completely stitches that torn urban fabric back together.
And the implications stretch far beyond this single property, which is a really important point. Montreal's East End actually holds approximately 30 million square feet of abandoned industrial land in total.
Wait, 30 million. 30 million square feet of dead space in one quadrant of the city.
Yes. So this specific 7 million square foot Esso site is serving as the vanguard. It is the catalyst for the entire region.
Okay, I see.
The economic theory is that proving the success of this first massive site will act as a powerful lever. It will demonstrate to private capital that these requalification projects are actually viable, thereby unlocking the remaining 23 million square feet of wastelands.
The economic and social ripple effects of that are staggering. Let's look at the financial side first. For the city of Montreal, taking 30 million square feet of unprofitable dormant land and converting it into a high-density, high-tech hub means a massive long-term injection of property tax revenues.
Right.
It structurally changes the financial health of the municipality. Plus, it actively cements Montreal's reputation on the global stage as a primary destination for clean technology investment.
The economic engine is vital for the city's future, no doubt. But the environmental mechanics of this plan are equally profound.
Let's talk about that.
The project places a massive emphasis on the creation of genuine living environments, not just office parks. We are talking about integrating extensive green networks and active mobility corridors.
The environmental reparation aspect is deeply fascinating to me because it tackles a major public health issue, which is urban heat islands.
Yes, a huge problem.
When you have a 124 football field expanse of concrete and asphalt, it absorbs massive amounts of solar radiation during the day and just traps that heat. It creates a microclimate that can be significantly hotter than surrounding areas.
Exactly. And the city's plan involves partial demineralization.
Which is the literal process of tearing up that 20th century concrete.
Right. They're literally ripping up the asphalt and implementing massive tree planting initiatives across this former petroleum site.
It's amazing.
By replacing heat-absorbing concrete with organic shaded greenery, you actively lower the ambient temperature of the entire neighborhood.
That directly improves air quality, reduces cooling costs for nearby buildings, and dramatically improves local public health.
And that environmental reparation ties directly back to economic talent retention, too.
How so?
Well, by offering highly attractive green living environments right next to high-paying jobs in AI and clean tech, you are giving Montrealers the opportunity to thrive locally.
Oh, wait.
When people don't have to commute entirely across the island or move to a different city altogether for a good job, you drastically reduce car dependency.
Which in turn reduces urban sprawl and lowers overall emissions. It is a highly engineered, virtuous cycle.
It really is.
It takes all these disparate, massive urban problems, a deeply contaminated lot, a severe lack of green space, punishing commutes, and regional brain drain, and attempts to solve them all with one integrated, albeit incredibly complex solution.
That's a great way to put it.
To summarize everything we've explored today, we are looking at something far more profound than just a standard commercial real estate transaction. As the sources beautifully articulate, this is the reparation of a territory.
The reparation of a territory, yeah.
We've explored how a 40-year-old, 7 million square foot void is finally receiving a $150 million scrub down. We've examined that 1983 legal loophole that forced the government to step in via an equity stake.
Right.
We've seen how the city is aggressively rejecting the outdated model of concrete deserts and logistics sprawl in favor of a vibrant mixed-use hub for clean tech and AI.
It's a huge pivot.
And we've seen how this one monumental effort is designed to be the catalyst that revitalizes 30 million square feet of Montreal's East End. I want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We took some incredibly dense municipal, economic, and environmental updates from our sources and hopefully extracted the most vital, illuminating insights to keep you perfectly well informed on the shifting realities of modern urban design.
It is an undeniably remarkable vision. However, this raises an important question.
Oh,
Yeah, one that is subtly woven into the very fabric of this 10-year plan, and it revolves around vulnerability.
okay. How so?
Well, we've talked extensively today about the province of Quebec stepping up with $123 million. We've discussed the alignment of the city of Montreal, the local mayors, and the SMTM organization.
Right.
We've talked about the future need to attract private investors for the tech hubs. But there is a specific, crucial quote from Premier Christine Frechette regarding the implementation of that deep infrastructure.
You mean the unglamorous sewers, aqueducts, and massive electrical grids we discussed earlier?
Exactly, the things that actually make the site functional.
I remember that being a massive secondary cost after the soil is cleaned. What was her quote?
She stated, and I quote, "There, I expect the federal government to be present."
Wait, meaning the money for the actual infrastructure isn't fully secured yet. They are banking on federal participation down the line.
Precisely.
Oh, wow.
So I leave you with this final thought to mull over. We are looking at a globally ambitious masterclass in urban requalification. But if a green transition project of this colossal scale, a project designed over decades to fight climate change and redefine a city's economic future, ultimately hinges on the federal government stepping up years from now to pay for basic sewers and electrical grids.
It really leaves you wondering.
It does. How vulnerable are the world's most ambitious climate and urban renewal projects to the unpredictable winds of political alignment?
That is wild.
I mean, the decontamination takes up to 10 years. If the federal and provincial governments do not see eye to eye 5, 7, or 10 years from now when those pipes finally need to be laid, what happens to the land?
That is a phenomenal and honestly slightly unsettling point.
Yeah.
You can have all the vision, all the cutting-edge AI plans, and all the initial equity in the world. But if the political priorities shift over a 10-year timeline and that federal infrastructure money disappears, you might just be left with a very clean, very expensive, entirely empty lot.
Exactly.
It's a high-stakes gamble on political continuity. Something to think about the next time you walk past a fenced-off development site in your own city. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.